Why choose a career in science? Working in healthcare and medtech startups. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you're on YouTube, click the alert notification button, and if you like the video, please click like and share.
Hello and welcome to everyone who's just joined the session. So this is a Careers in Science Spotlight event on startups. I'm Violet Hueston, Education Partnerships Manager for the Faculty of Science at UNSW, and I will be hosting this event, which will explore how science students can get into the startup scene with a focus on healthcare and medtech. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands upon which each audience member is located. I'm speaking from Randwick, which is located on Gadigal lands, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And I'd also like to acknowledge all of you wonderful students who have joined us today. We are going to hear from 4 speakers today who are involved in startups in a variety of ways. We have a graduate recruiter who places recent graduates into startups. We also have 2 MedTech founders and a representative from UNSW Founders to speak about opportunities on how current students can get involved in startups as well. And after we hear from all of our amazing speakers, we'll have a Q&A session where you'll have the opportunity to ask the speakers any questions you might have about a career in startups. And to do the Q&A, you will be submitting your questions through a website called Slido. So if you can grab another device, an iPad or a phone or another browser, and go to www.sli.do and log into our event with the code AskSci. When you log in, you'll be able to submit as many questions as you like throughout the session. You do not need to wait until the Q&A starts. If there's already a question in there submitted by another student and you really want that question to be answered, please vote for it by clicking on the thumbs up like button next to the question. We'll actually be answering the most popular questions first, so it's really important that you vote for your favorite questions. And my colleague Renee will post the link to Slido and the event code in the chat just in case you need to refer to it later on. But without further delay, I will hand over to our first speaker, Camilla Clarke from Give a Grad a Go.
Thank you so much, Violet, for the intro, and I'm super excited to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your lunch, I guess, to zoom into this. I'm really looking forward to hearing the speakers as well, talk about their journeys. What I do want to do is just share my screen for just have slides alongside, which hopefully will work. Here we go. So, bit of an overview. Yeah, I am the country manager in Australia for Give a Grad a Go. So we are a graduate specialist recruitment agency. If you haven't worked with a recruitment agency before or know much about what we do, basically we're there as the middle person to act between the company and you looking for your job. So we're there to really hold your hand throughout that process. I've personally been working for Give a Grad a Go for 8 years, just about, I think, today, in fact, or yesterday, and worked for the UK business, working really closely with startups to connect with graduates, recent grads, and moved over to Australia early last year to launch our operations here. So I have a big background in helping students understand more about the startup world and the types of roles that are within that whole huge thriving industry. And so I'm really here today to just give you a bit of a high level overview of what a startup is, why you'd be interested in joining a startup, and what generally we've seen startup businesses tend to look for in junior hires, and also just a few tips of how to get yourself in front of those types of businesses and hopefully starting your career there. So firstly, this is a really kind of high level overview of what a startup is. I'm sure you've probably heard the term startup before, you may not have, but it's very much a buzzword. And here we've got a nice statistic that the global startup economy is huge, nearly at 3 trillion in value. And a startup is really a product or service that is trying to find a way to provide a solution within its market. So if we're looking specifically at MedTech or health tech, for example, especially with the COVID pandemic, if you look at still being able to connect with healthcare professionals, a solution with that, not being able to be in person, is actually interactive over video or telephone. So that's an example of a solution within its market. Now, difference between a small business owner and a startup is that scalability, and having the ability to really grow and thrive as a business. There's lots of different jargon that you'll probably hear or you might have come across already, which is good to understand if you are going to be looking into joining a startup, just to really understand where a startup is in its journey. I won't go into this now because I don't want to talk on for too long, but it's always good to just have a bit of an understanding of the stage of startups. So you've got you might see a lot of kind of Series A startups, and that's really Series A is when the product or service has reached a point where it can start involving investors, and really it's proven itself as a business to be able to have financial backing and then grow in its journey. This is just one example of looking into where a business is on its growth journey. So and at the end you can always ask questions about that or do a bit of research into it, but I just wanted to highlight that as something to think about if you are looking at that journey. And if you are working with recruiters or directly with a business, it's always great to ask them for advice on where that company is in its journey of growth. So sure, you're keen to hear what the benefits are that we've found when working with startups of joining that type of business. And these are really just a few of the examples, but one of the main amazing opportunities you have when joining a smaller team is the fact that you will be working so closely with heads of departments and experts within their field. When I first started at Give a Grad a Go, there were just 5 of us in the company. This is 8 years ago. And I was sat next to my CEO. I was sat opposite someone who was his second hire 3 years before that. So I immediately was gaining all this inside knowledge into not only what my role was, but how did the whole company operate? How was my job impacting the rest of the growth of the business? And also just being able to hear, conversations that were really, really new to me about business, and really learning quite quickly about just general business and operations, marketing, sales, that were a little bit out of my role as well. Which I've also mentioned, there's also opportunities to get involved with different projects and diversify your skills. This is broadly speaking, but more times than not, if you have a variety of skills, different strings to your bow, that's an amazing asset to a small business. You might be in a customer service position, but you also might be really skilled in
I want to watch it.
So someone's mic's on. You might be really skilled in social media or be really great with data. And so if you just put your hand up, there's loads of opportunities that you could get involved in a project and keep building and developing your skills quite quickly, which in hand can lead to real progression. If you are one of the first few people in a business, for example, if you were one of the first hires into the marketing team, for example, and you started in a junior digital marketing role, which requires analytical skills, what I've found is that I've seen this happen in companies where I've placed people years before. They've started in that junior role, and then because they've got to try out lots of different things within that position, they've actually built a team around them. And so they've moved into managerial roles or team lead roles within a year or a couple years down the line. And actually, quite recently, I had someone who started as an intern, it was 5 years ago, in a digital marketing tech product. And they just got promoted, well, through a few promotions, but they've just become the marketing director of that company. And the company's now grown to have global offices. So they've really excelled in their career quite quickly and managed to really prove themselves in that environment. One of my favorite things about, getting people into startups and the exciting environments that they offer, and what I always talk to hiring managers about, is the realities of getting out of your comfort zone. Like I said, there's going to be lots of opportunity to get involved in different projects, but also you're part of something new that potentially hasn't even been on the market yet, or they're still growing and working out what sort of direction they want to go and take, and hearing your kind of input as well on that. So you're more times than not, you're definitely going to get out of your comfort zone, which just really allows you to learn quickly and prove to yourself and build confidence in your own abilities. For example, a really great entry-level role for a recent graduate is actually sales, and getting yourself out of your comfort zone and pitching to businesses or new customers. That can be really scary and something that you might shy away from. But once you put yourself out there and try it, and you might have, it's not going to work every time, but you will have successes, and that's only going to boost your confidence and prove to you that you can really succeed in what you might not have expected that you could. So I hope that gives a bit of an overview of some of the benefits of joining a company, when it is a startup and when it is such a tight-knit team. What I do want to look at is, so now if you're thinking about, great, these are the benefits of a startup, now what do they tend to look for? And these are, I know there'll be a few buzzwords here, like entrepreneurial spirit, self-starter attitude, but it's all super valuable. And there's so many different reasons why businesses of this size will look for these types of attributes. If we look at passionate first, in a startup environment, you can things can be a little bit ambiguous sometimes in terms of how your role will look or how the company grows. So you need to be really prepared to really delve deep into that, and there might be potentially some long hours. But if you are super excited and passionate about what they're doing and bringing to market and the impact they're making in their industry and on the world, then that passion it's really going to help you, stay motivated and stay excited about what they're bringing to market. And that ties in with that sort of self-starter attitude. What is it that's going to have you excited when you wake up and, really wanting to get to work and be around the people in your company, learning from them, and really all going towards the same goal. So really having that go-getter, get up and go, all those buzzwords you'll probably hear, attitude is so important when it comes to a startup environment. And the entrepreneurial spirit, which we'll definitely hear from the speakers after myself, starting their own businesses, being that environment, it's having that real fire inside of you to drive something forward, to have new ideas, to innovate. And you may have started a side project whilst you've been studying, or thought about different ways that you could make money whilst studying. Maybe you wanted to create an eBay channel, or start something that way, or just carry out your own research. All these sorts of kind of things that you would be doing alongside your current studies are all showing that you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, that you really want to be a part of something, or have your own venture, your own business, to really make an impact as well on something that you care about. The adaptability and flexibility is something that I touched on before about with startups. It could be their first time creating a business, the founders, or the first time experiencing what the response is from the market, from customers. And so you may have an idea in your mind. The company may have an idea of how they want to head into market, how they want to grow. But actually the response means that you have to change direction, or your role might need to focus on a particular element of the business more than another part. You may be doing analysis and customer service mixed, but you might need to really be focusing on data to help drive the company forward. So it's being adaptable and flexible to what's required, which is exciting, but can be a bit scary. So it's just having that mindset is really, really important. And varied skill set, like I touched on before, is hugely valuable to startups, especially when it's quite a small environment. If you're able to do quite a variety of things and keep on top of that, then that's awesome. It means that they can really tap into your variety of skills from one person. And actually that does allow you to have a bit more of a varied progression route. Say, for example, if you were to start in a MedTech company on their customer service team, speaking to their customers, but actually what you realize is you're really good with the tech and really interested on the engineering side, then there's huge scope there as they grow to actually cross-functionally move into more of an engineering pathway. So having that varied skill set and actually those interests as well, if you've got those just additional things, strings to your bow, as I keep saying, then there's loads that you can get involved with. And pretty much I'd say, and I'll say this broadly because I can't speak for every startup out there, but more times than not, there's no 2 days that are the same, and you can really direct that as well. So if you are interested in joining a startup, there's so many different ways to connect with startups and put an application forward, which is, well, first things, you can connect with a recruiter like myself, like give a Grad a go, and reach out and just start learning about what is out there, what industries are thriving, what companies and ecosystems you can really find out more about. So that really taps into staying informed. Now, the best way, especially over the last year, staying informed is getting online and using professional networks like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is there to be your support, to help you connect with businesses, industries. It's an education platform. If you create your own LinkedIn profile and just start looking at different startup ecosystems that, for example, there's incubators and accelerators that you'll hear more about from the other speakers here. But you've also got communities. For example, there's a great community that we're a part of in Melbourne, but they also have a base in Sydney called Stone and Chalk, which is a community of startups within the tech space, which includes MedTech and health tech, but also wider like fintech and edtech and prop tech, which have their own following on LinkedIn. They post up events, so you can learn heaps more about what's going on with new tech coming out there, and get to know people within the industry, speakers, because the more that you are informed and the more that you research and understand about particular industries or companies or what people are doing, the more that you'll be able to understand when you do connect with a business or a role is advertised, that it's actually something you care about and that you're excited about, because you've got a bit of a broader picture. And then if you do reach an interview stage with a business, what you then can do is show off what you know about the industry. Every article you read about it, or event that you attend, or speaker you listen to, all these information pieces are building up a really good foundation of knowledge for you to then be able to say, if you are in an interview, what's going on in their wider industry, what are who are their competitors, and why is their product or service so important within that space. So that's all really important just to help you as you are job hunting. And so if you do connect with, say, Give a Grad a Go, and you apply for a job on our jobs board, then you'll be in a better position to kind of share whether you're excited about it or know where to find further information about the company or role. When you are, I want to just touch on as well, if you are putting together your application for a position, so you're putting your resume together, absolutely spell it out on your resume what it is you're excited about the role and what your skills are. Really show off. Like I said before, having a varied skill set is such an asset to startups. So if you can do a variety of different things, have it really clear, have it on the top of your resume, skills, whether it's technical or soft skills, or especially as well, any interests or achievements, like go into detail, because it's all about showing your passions and what personally is going to drive you. And that can really resonate with the hiring manager or the founder of the business. So spell it out. I would always, my top tip for building your resume, especially for the startup sector, is a personal profile at the top of your resume. Just 2 to 3 short, sharp sentences that just states, these are my relevant skills, and I am so excited to get my foot in the door within the medtech sector, or really passionate about making an impact on the health profession in this way. It sounds really obvious, but not everyone's doing it, and those are the applications that really do stand out for me. So I would absolutely recommend, if you haven't already got that all together, have a tweak of your resume, and even if you could pop that on your LinkedIn profile as well, just a short intro. So finally, just wanted to highlight a few roles within the startup sectors that we have hired for. And I appreciate these might not all be relevant with your studies, but what I want to kind of highlight here is there's so many different opportunities within startups, from tech, app development, cloud engineer, to product management, operations, customer experience. And I'm more than happy to explain different roles that we work on, or what different roles mean if you want to connect or anything after this. But that's just something to be mindful of. And we've got a whole host of different roles live at the moment across different teams. So I think that is everything I was going to share with you today. I feel like I've gone through quite a lot there. So hopefully some of that was helpful. But if you do have any questions, please do ask at the end. I'm more than happy to help where I can.
Thanks so much for that, Camilla. All of those really useful tips for our students. And I wish there was someone like you that I could have spoken to when I was a science student myself, because all of those little tips really do help, especially when you're, amongst hundreds of other applicants when you're going for graduate roles. So I'll just, before we go to our next speaker, I just want to remind all of our students tuning in that to please submit your questions on Slido. If you have any specific questions for Camilla, send them through, or if you have general ones as well, we'll be happy to answer them. So I'm going to hand over to our next speaker now, so one of our MedTech founders, Nikhil, to have a chat about his own personal startup journey. So Nikhil, I'll hand over to you.
I really should have figured out this mute thing by now, I know. Yeah, so, yeah, do I just start?
Yeah, just
Okay,
just start, Nikhil.
cool.
Over to you.
Cool. So, yeah, me, I was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 17 and given a 10 to 20% chance of surviving. And yeah, of course, that was a shock to me, but I think it was after I started going to med school, that I realized that, some of the things that could have killed me during chemo, that nearly did, they were often preventable. So we're talking things like falls, right? Bed sores, pneumonias. I've been to the ICU a couple of times. Like during hospital, these happened a few times. And for me, like in that sort of setting, I was really, really tired. I was really, really weak. And I simply couldn't even get up, like one of the best things you can do when you have pneumonias. And yeah, it was then that I realized, that there was this big problem, that we couldn't really do this at home. But it was after I lost two friends within a week one who fell, and she wasn't seen for 20 hours, and the other had the exact same treatment that I did. And yeah, he was at home, he couldn't even sit up. That I realized, that we needed to do something about this. And so yeah, I was thinking like down these lines anyway, for a while. Like falls, pressure sores, pneumonias are the most common cause of hospitalization. They cost tens of billions of dollars, and there's something that really hasn't been updated in a while: the hospital bed. And there was potential there for that to be, changed so that it could address these issues. And after losing those friends, I was just like, damn, I have to make a difference. And so went out, I got together with an engineer, and yeah, we worked and we designed a whole bed, and we were like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. But then I went and started going out to startups for places and doing pitches and all that kind of thing. And I realized that there was a science to this whole business thing as well. And, I'd read up on it, right? All the things that you got to do. You got to have you should put up a lean canvas, which is basically like outlining exactly what your business is, what your channels to market and entry are, all that kind of thing. I mean, I was like, at the same time, I was like, if I just build something cool, wouldn't people buy it, sort of thing? So yeah, we had this bed idea. We went and pitched it out there, but then started realizing, you know what? We haven't even talked to people yet. I just use my own sort of experience and my own sort of intuition to sort of guide this process. And so, yeah, when we did start talking to people, I realized, first off, the biggest thing that patients face is that they would get a hospital bed at home if they could during treatments, if they're older, all those kinds of populations are needed. But the thing is, they cost too much and they're really hard to bring in the home. You can't take them upstairs. You got to get a manual installer to bring them. And that's why they weren't really out there. And our solution wasn't really addressing that. And then when we were talking to nursing homes and hospitals, we realized as well that right now the biggest issue in this isn't that, you know, there's enough staff, that kind of thing is one big issue for sure, but they couldn't even monitor people in bed. And so that's when we went back to the drawing board. We were like, okay, how about we create a solution that actually works for the people who need them? And yeah, so we went back there and we realized, first off, by looking at the market, doing things like SWOT analyses, right? The science behind business, that right now there wasn't really anything which could detect your movement patterns and your other vitals while in bed. And we looked into the literature again, we looked at other solutions out there, and instead of going out, doing the same thing that other people did, we combined a couple of technologies using stretch fabrics as well as, some machine learning that we had in our team. And we built out and started creating the sensor system, which could actually detect movements, but do it at an affordable price. Because the problem was right now, you need thousands of point sensors underneath every point of a person to be able to create a movement map, right? Like that we are now. So that cost thousands to do. So that's why it wasn't in the clinic. And then, yeah, we brought this more efficient, affordable, and viable solution in. And that was part one, I guess, right? That solved a problem. And nursing homes were really, really keen on that idea. And the other solution we had when we started talking to patients was, instead of a hospital bed, what people need is just to be lifted up, right? I got I always use my device anyway. So what this does is it sort of just sits under you, lifts you up and down. It's very simple, but that's what people needed. And it's something as well that we realize when looking into the market. The hospital bed industry around the world, it's a $7 billion industry. There's like a couple 100,000 beds, but the thing is, these beds last for like 5 to 7 years. Only developed world countries buy them right now, and it seems like a lot, but there's like hundreds of millions of people over 65 in America alone. A couple 100 million, there'll be a billion by 2030 around the world. So why not create something that can reach people at home, right? And create a product that could possibly be disruptive and work with your current solution. So yeah, when we started doing that, we started getting a lot more traction. We started, seeing a lot of responses when we started posting about it. And we are now, like, we just launched a Kickstarter campaign. We've raised a decent amount of money, but most importantly, we're in with the global shop directs of the world. So that's going to help us fund what we're doing. And then, yeah, the sensor tech at the same time, all of this is helping fund that. And that's something else that we had partnered with nursing homes. We're going to be going in and talking to them and working with them to create our algorithms and all that. But COVID happened. So I guess we had to sort of find a way around that. And what we did was, look, I'm Indian, I have lots of doctors in my family, right? I started talking to them, and yeah, what we're going to be doing now is clinically trialing in India, in a place where you get, hundreds of patients going through, getting a lot of data, as well as being able to do so quite affordably with people who have already done clinical trials, and they're happy because they really need this device as well over there. So there's always, a second way around things when problems do come up. And in the startup world, you get to problem solve on your feet, sort of thing, and get out there. But yeah, I mean, what I learned through this whole journey is, don't just create what you think is best, create what people need, right? And when you do, that's when you start seeing responses. So yeah, there's definitely a science behind startups and business. definitely learn about that, because even though it seems arbitrary and even though your logic will tell you, yeah, we can do it without that, if you follow the processes, and UNSW Founders is actually really good for that. They provided a lot of the coaching, which allowed us to get out there. That's there for you, by the way, free. Like, you can literally go out, talk to them if you have an idea, and they'll hook you up with a coach, mentor, and get you into programs that will even get you free office space and things like that. So yeah, take advantage of all the things that we have here in Australia and at UNSW for sure. And yeah, I mean, that's my startup journey so far, where we've got a way to go, but yeah, we're really starting to get there now.
Thanks so much for that, Nikhil. That's gosh, that's such an inspiring story. And yep, I didn't even know you could do love hearts on screens, Camilla. That's great. Um, but yeah, I mean, just such an inspiring story, not just your own personal story, but being able to meet all of the challenges in your startup head on, and not kind of giving up and throwing up your hands going, oh, well, COVID, this is impossible. No, it's all about, how can we resolve this issue now? I'm sure there's a solution and we can move forward with it. So thank you so much for sharing that. And if you want to post any kind of links in the chat to your Kickstarter or
Yeah.
to your website, please go ahead and do so. I'm sure the students tuning in would love to support you.
Cool.
So thanks so much for that. We'll now move on to our next MedTech founder speaker, and she also happens to be a UNSW Science alumna, Sylvia Lee. So Sylvia, can you pop onto the screen and share your own startup story with our lovely students joining in today?
Hello, hi, I'm Sylvia from Aurora MedTech, and I co-founded it with 4 friends. And by the way, that was so inspiring, that speech just now. I just wanted to give you props for that. That was so inspiring. Okay, and yeah, so Aurora MedTech, we aim to destigmatize the long-standing attitudes surrounding STIs to better sexual health and empower young adults. Because STIs are such a huge issue, 1 in 20 Australians have it, and there's such a huge stigma behind it due to cultural reasons, religious factors, and a whole bunch of issues. And honestly, it should be talked about a lot more. And we aim to do this through our discrete diagnostic testing device, and it encourages regular sexual health checkups. So we're aiming to test for the 4 most common STIs: chlamydia, gonorrhea, Hep B, and syphilis. And it basically provides an indication within 15 minutes at the comfort of your own house. And it encourages you to get regular STI health checkups. And that is our goal. So a bit more about me and my journey as to how this all started. So I am a 2021 Science and Business graduate, and I majored in biotechnology. And in my second year of uni, I co-founded Aurora MedTech with 4 friends who were actually in Bab's class, and they were promoting the Peter Farrell Cup. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but it's a UNSW run program, and I highly, highly recommend you to join it. It is amazing because we were just students, and we didn't know much about the real world, to be honest. We get taught academics, but that's about it. And we didn't have a lot of real life knowledge. And the Peter Farrell Cup, you didn't need an actual MVP or product yet. All you needed was an idea and a passion and a drive. And that really reached out to us. And one of my friends came up with the idea that we should create a discrete sexual health testing kit. And then we did a bit of research, and we found that there was nothing that was actually approved within Australia yet. And then we just came up with this idea, and we came up with a slide deck and a pitch, and then we entered the competition. And then we were placed with a mentor who was actually a lecturer, Wallace Bridge, and that just kickstarted our entire entrepreneurship journey. We had no idea we were even going to become a startup. So it just all happened so fast. And that's why I think, as Nikhil said, UNSW is so great for startups because they have so many resources, and you just go up to UNSW Founders and you ask them, and they will help you and they will guide you. And I highly recommend you to just take that first step and just get started. So while this entire process was happening, it was entrepreneurship is really, really fast pacing and really progressive, and that's why I highly recommend it, because it always encourages you to upskill yourself and to just become a better person. And honestly, as long as you have an idea and you're really passionate about it, and it's something that people need, and it fixes a pain point for people, then it can be turned into a business. And as I realized throughout my journey, like we were passionate and then we realized, oh, this is an actual business and we need to learn the business side of things. So we joined a whole bunch of other accelerators, incubators and startups as well. So for example, after PFC, we did the HCF Slingshot Catalyst Accelerator and we were part of the 5th cohort. And that was an intensive 3 months training program where we were assigned with more mentors. And throughout this entire process, we just learned so much. And that was more about commercialization as well, because you need to know how to run a business to be a business. And like, I thought I was just in it for biotechnology, but that's when I discovered my love for commercialization and business and marketing. And you learn so many skills. So I learned how to code and create our own website, as well as like website building, HTML, WordPress, and mostly just to gain confidence to speak to people and to do a lot of pitches, because you have to constantly pitch your business to people to get word out. And from then, we were part of the UNSW Health 10X Pre-Accelerator, which was run by UNSW Founders, and it was amazing. I highly recommend this program as well because they have provided a lot of technical background. So they taught you about how to get government grants, like government funding. They taught you about like medical device, like which like diagnostic testing devices under TGA, like which levels that you need to like go through to get approval. They just taught you a lot of like the technical background as well. And you also get heaps of like pitching practice through like breakout rooms and things. And we actually won the People's Choice Award for UNSW Founders for the 10X Showcase. And we also placed first in the Text with Ventures pitch competition. So we basically just really threw ourselves forward, and we applied to all these different like competitions and applications. And yeah, like from then on, like we met so many people who supported us, encouraged us along the way. Like everyone is so nice and supportive. Like everyone just wants you to succeed, and it really builds you up. And ever since I started my startup, like I've completely changed my career progression, like my career pathway. I thought I wanted to do biotechnology, thought I wanted to work in a lab, but that it wasn't for me, and that's completely okay. I discovered that I love talking to people and people skills. So then it also helped me progress like personally as well. And I was constantly driven to upskill myself, because everything I did, I was thinking, oh, this would help the startup. For example, like when I was doing full-time uni, I was also doing 2 safe courses on the side as well. So in like complex Excel and Word, as well as like website building, because I was like, oh, this would like help the startup. It was just something to look forward to every day. So I really, really highly recommend it. And yeah, and you miss all the shots that you don't take. So just give it a go. As long as you have an idea, like you have an idea, and that's where you begin. And then you can get help from people. The idea will change along the way. Like our product has changed so much as our journey progressed, and that's absolutely fine. And if that idea doesn't work out, there's so many other ideas. Just like give it a shot. That's my advice. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Sylvia. I can really see your drive and your passion and your enthusiasm shining through. That was amazing. And I love how this all started for you with a chat with your friends in a class, in a Babs class. That's really amazing, and just shows that, for our students tuning in as well, it can just start from something as simple as that. And there are the resources on campus at UNSW to then help any student bring to life their idea. And so that is a really great segue to our next speaker, Beste, who is actually from UNSW Founders, and she can share the ways that UNSW students can kickstart their journey in startup. So over to you, Beste.
Oh, thank you so much. Just trying to get this into presentation mode. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the speakers before as well. That was so amazing. I was just sitting here smiling and just remembering why I love my job so much, is seeing founders like you guys creating some amazing startups that are helping so many people in the world. So yeah, and the passion that founders bring is just beyond anything. So yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for propping founders. Done my job for me already. So I might have gotten a bit too excited and made too many slides, but I will skip through these as fast as possible. So as mentioned, I'm Beste. I'm working at UNSW Founders. I previously ran the pre-accelerator programs. Now I run Health 10X Accelerator and also the Angel Investors program. So who are we? We're Australia's leading university-based entrepreneurial support program, and we help students, staff, alumni, and also beyond What sets us apart from others is that our support is really, really comprehensive. So whether you're just curious about entrepreneurship or you have a startup that's scaling up and really out in the market, we have something to support, and we have a portfolio of really quality startups. So if you're just curious about entrepreneurship, then we've got foundational workshops run by the Michael Clarke Innovation Center. So topics like design thinking and doing lean canvas, what Nikhil mentioned earlier, pitching. We've also got the the makerspace for prototyping. So we've got these really fun machines that you can play with, 3D printers, laser cutters. You can make jewelry. There's sewing machines. There's all kinds of things that you can use. If you're more in the academic space, then we've also got research making impact and an EHDR. So those are workshops. There's 4 that you can do each trimester, or the EHDR is actually self-paced and you can do yourself. So if you have an idea, Sylvia mentioned the Peter Farrow Cup. Thank you and well done on doing so well in that. So that's a pitch competition that runs over 10 weeks. You get workshop, mentors, you can win $20,000. And New Wave as well. And special mention to the Dean of Science, because she actually very generously donated $2,500 for New Wave. So this will be awarded to a team with majority science for their best scientific innovation. And it's a program specifically designed for women to come to the entrepreneurship. We love seeing more women in the space, and it's a 2-week intensive that runs between the trimesters. Then if you've got a startup and you're looking to grow it even further, then we've got our accelerator programs. Also mentioned, hi Sylvia, thank you. We've got 10X and Health 10X. They're 2-phase programs. I'll talk through a little bit in a second. We've got incubation, so Nikhil has been in our incubation space and ongoing support. He's also been a speaker, so thank you, Nikhil. And we've got the angel investors program. So our goal is to create a community of angel investors who will hopefully then provide capital and funding for our startups. And so far, we've run 3 of those programs so far. Oh, and of course, we have Coaching Connect, which is one-on-one coaching that you can have along the whole journey as well. We have a whole team of people that you can bounce your ideas off, and we can guide you through the whole journey. We're really proud of our impact. So last year, we helped over 10,000 people through our workshops. We supported over 260 startups and 500 teams. We've delivered lots of coaching and mentoring sessions and got some pretty good feedback. And 42% of our founders are women compared to industry average of 23%. And the portfolio I mentioned, so 51 startups have graduated from our accelerators, and we've invested in 32 and provided grants to 20. The startups have done really well, so they've received total 25 million in investments and grants post 10X. They've created over 150 jobs, so they're always hiring as well. So you can also get some experience with them. And our portfolio value stands at over $200 million. And not only is this an incredible valuation of their portfolios, but they're helping so many people with their lives. So having really great impact. Health 10X. So this is run in partnership with the George Institute for Global Health. So that makes us really unique in that we're the only university and medical research institute-based accelerator in the whole of New South Wales. And we're actually the first global health-focused accelerator in all of Australia. So you can really leverage both the credibility and resources of UNSW, but also the George Institute and their global network. So if the first phase, we're going to pick 25 health teams, and it's a 5-week program. So you'll learn really informative content from industry experts and some of those topics that were mentioned earlier about medical financing and economics and regulatory requirements, how to do clinical trials, and learn about emerging markets as well, because we do actually focus on startups that are creating products and services facing challenges of non-communicable diseases, and also in emerging markets as well, affordable solutions. You can also access Founders Perks package. So we have lots of software and legal and accounting services that you can have free or get discounts for. There's a prize pool of $15,000. And also, because we join this with the agnostic stream, we'll have 50 teams that you can get support from. It's a lot of the time founders don't want to go on their own, you learn so much from other founders. So yeah, there's that value as well. If you get selected into the accelerator, then there's $20,000 seed funding, workshops, there's a demo night, PR support, you get to incubate in the space. I just want to mention really, really quickly just some of the amazing MedTech startups that we've had before. So Walking Tall Health was a team that came through last year. They've developed this breakthrough technology to help people who are suffering from Parkinson's being able to walk again. If you see a video of them side by side of like then falling over, stumbling, and then they put the socks on and they're able to work, it's absolutely incredible. They're doing really, really well. 23 strands. So by using a sample of blood, they're able to give you insights which are current and for future best suited medications and disease risk based on your DNA. They actually had a mentor who is the head of School for Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences at UNSW, and they were really pivotal in that they actually established a completely new business unit for reproductive health. And I won't go through all the things that they've done since then, but they've just achieved so much. And the last one I was just going to mention is Movie. So really relevant to COVID, they created this mechanism that disinfects hospitals. They actually use them in Wuhan in China, so they kill superbugs, and it's really to safeguard against human cleaning errors. And yeah, that's it. And New Wave applications open, Health 10X applications open. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm sorry if I went over.
No, that was great, Beste. Thank you so much for that, and great to see the head of school of Babs in amongst the examples there. That's great to see. And again, if you want to post anything in the chat for our students, please go ahead and do so. And so now we come to the long-awaited Q&A session. So we've already got a few questions that have been submitted from our lovely students. So if you haven't logged into our Slido site yet, so please go ahead and do so and use the event code AskSci, and then you'll be able to submit your own questions and also vote for ones that you want to be answered, because we'll actually be answering the most popular questions first. So let's bring up the question screen here and see what questions we have from our lovely students. So I think for the first one, we'll direct it to Camilla, as it's a recruitment question. So the question is, what are the best or preferred ways to message a recruiter on LinkedIn as a student interested in her role or in a role in their company?
Awesome. Thanks for the question. And I think actually Nikhil mentioned in the comments about how important it is just doing the 300 character LinkedIn connection message. Like if you do see a job that you are really interested in, you've made your application via the link on the jobs board, definitely reach out and just connect and say, hey, Camilla, or whoever the recruiter is, just say, I've just seen that you've posted or advertised this role. I'm super excited and cannot wait to hear back from you. Just highlights your application. So definitely just make it personal and be proactive and always have a reason behind your message. So lots of people do connect with me every day. I'm sure people do that all the time, and sometimes they don't have any message, and sometimes I wait. Like they look really interesting and I'm like, oh, I'm excited. Like I'm keen to know what how I could help. And then they never message me. And then I feel a bit awkward that I should say something, but they've connected with me. So yeah, be personal, be proactive, and everyone's just, there to help. So hope that answers that.
Yeah, it does. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Camilla. I think you're right. It's really important to add something personal and put a little bit of extra effort when you reach out to someone on LinkedIn. So the next question is, there are a few different attributes that startups look for in new hires. What do you think is the most important attribute? So Camilla, I might start with you, but then I'll go to also Beste as well, because you work with a lot of founders too and startups.
Yeah, I'll be brief because I know I went into this in a lot of detail and it's difficult to say a blanket kind of answer. But I think the most important thing is just resonating with what the mission is, what is the business trying to achieve. If you have that and you really are passionate, genuinely enthusiastic and yeah, really focused with it, then that's just going to shine through. So I'd say that's probably the most important element when it comes to looking at startup roles.
Great, thanks, Willa. Beste?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is a bit hard though, but I think, well, my partner is a startup founder and he does a lot of hiring. And one key question that they ask is actually, how do you deal with stress? Because it is a lot of work. You have to be really dedicated, committed to working pretty hard for a startup, because you can go through lots of ups and downs and things like that as well. Maybe that's just their startup, I don't know. No, but and also another one I would say is that quite often founders will look for team members who will show initiative. Founders are really, really busy and they don't always have time to show you the way. So if you can come with the solutions, if you can come with new ideas and you can kind of, prove yourself in that way, I think initiative is a really good one.
For me, I reckon one of the best things is if you can sort of hustle and find like different ways of fixing problems, right? So like if you like as a startup, you got to do like 10 things at once often, like you're in marketing at one point and then you're going into product development, all that kind of thing. If you can like just Google, right, and find an app for something that makes things more efficient, right? It's not only good because startups will be like, yeah, this guy can sort of help us out, or this girl can help us out with whatever we need to do, but it also makes you sharper, I guess, in a way, and it helps you find ways of doing things more efficiently. So yeah, I think, yeah, finding the best way to do things efficiently is definitely something you want to learn and something you will learn from joining a startup.
Great, thanks, Nikhil. And that actually kind of answers the next question as well. You've already answered it, and so well, part of it. So, what has been the biggest challenge or learning for you, for each of you, working in a startup? So, Nikhil, you touched on that in that you've got to juggle 10 things at once and figure out problems as you go. So, Sylvia, I'd be interested to hear from you on this question. What has been the biggest challenge or learning for you in your startup journey?
Yeah, probably the same, just like juggling everything and balancing everything with a full-time job as well as your lifestyle as well as a startup, because obviously you need to put in a lot of time and hard work and dedication. But it's also about like compromisation and getting along with your co-founders. That's also really important, to spend time with them. And yeah, so it's just everything really. And as for learning, you're always learning. I'm still learning in my startup, just like so many new skills. And yeah.
Great. Thanks, Sylvia. And again, like, you're all mind readers. So you've just answered, touched on the next question already as well. What new skills have you developed since working in a startup? And obviously, it sounds like you've all learned a million new skills. But what do you think is probably for you the most important new skill that you've learned? So Nikhil, Sylvia.
In terms of skills, it's definitely like over time managing people, sort of delegating and figuring out the best way to do things is like you'll end up like spending a lot of time trying to fix your own sort of problems and do things yourself if you don't do that. So yeah, eventually you'll learn how to work as a team and how to work efficiently as a team. And yeah, when you have so many things to do, that's really important in a startup. So yeah, it's definitely that for me.
Yeah, for me, it would be people skills as well as a lot of technical skills as well. So juggling Excel, like how to sign up for ABN, how to register your company, like everything like commercialization and business, a lot of technical and a lot of people skill as well.
Great. Thanks for that,
Yeah, and I
Nikhil
think one. Oh,
and
sorry.
Sylvia. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one more thing is you also learn like what's the most cost efficient way of doing things. So sometimes, you'll be just thinking, oh yeah, I need to make this graphic. I need to make this really good. But then you can go to Fiverr and hire someone for $5 to do it while you work on something more important, right? And then that sort of efficiency sort of process helps like you in day-to-day life as well. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool too.
Great. Thanks for that. So it all kind of sounds pretty like juggling lots of different things, looking at the most efficient, cost-effective way to do things. And I'm sure that's not just relevant in a startup space, but in you know a- an average job or just in your daily lives as well. So thanks for sharing that. We're so close to running out of time, so we might just take one more question. And the next one is, I don't have an idea for a startup, but I really want to get involved in one that gets started. So what is my next best step for that? And I might hand this question over to Beste.
Sure. So I think going to events is a really good one. We have, as I mentioned, we do have lots of workshops and events in that curiosity stage. So if you sign up to our newsletter, you'll be able to stay informed in that. And also, we've got lots of announcements from our community startups who are hiring. And I mean, it depends, I guess, if you want to start. Oh, sorry, it's just getting started. Yeah, so probably events and workshops. There's hackathons as well, so you don't need an idea. You can just come in and join a team. New Wave is a similar thing, so you don't need to have an idea. You can come in and join a team as well.
Great, thanks for that. And New Wave is a good one, as I think applications close soon, and it's starting next term, I think. So, and I've been involved in hackathons myself, and they're intense, but a lot of fun, and it is also a good way to get involved in a startup right from the start. So thanks for that, Beste. So that's all of the questions we have time for today. But before we wrap up the event and let you all go, I'd actually like to highlight that we'll be sending a follow-up email next week to registered guests for the event with relevant information from today's speakers. And we'll also include some information about the program on the slide here. And it's actually a new program, an online MedTech Foundations course, which is sponsored by New South Wales Health and delivered by Cicada Innovations, one of Australia's leading and I believe first deep tech incubator. And it's completely free and you can do it at your own pace. So if you're not quite ready to perhaps dive into an accelerator program, or you just want to learn more about the medtech startup ecosystem, check out this course. My colleague Renee will also pop the link in the chat now. So that unfortunately is all we have time for today. A big thank you to our amazing speakers who were sharing their insights and sharing their own personal journey in the startup space. It's been such an inspiration hearing from you all, and I'm sure all of the students really appreciate you taking time out to share your stories. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye, everyone.